Time is 7:09 p.m. Announced that a quorum is present and call to order the City Council regular meeting. Good evening, everyone. Please stand for invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
We can all bow our heads while we have a moment of silence. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, you may be seated. First up is public comments, non-agenda items on the public comments white card. Those comments will have 3 persons each. Comments on the yellow card will be taken from audience members on non-agenda and agenda items, combined for the time not to exceed 5 minutes total per person. And then not to include, except for public hearings, where some public hearing items will be for not to exceed 2 minutes. No action or discussion may be taken by council during the public comments on non-agenda items. All right. First up, Mr. Robert, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name's Robert Battle. We had a crime happen in August, and it apparently has just completely gotten ignored, and now it's being covered up by the city attorneys and by the city secretary. On August 19th, there was some security camera footage taken of me and Mr. Moore and Ms. Alvarez in the lobby, and somebody somehow downloaded that from a security camera server and gave it to Fox News. I did a Freedom of Information request to find out who did that. I want to know who's in charge of that server. I want to know what the protocols are for getting that material. And of course, I also want to know why the police couldn't figure this out either. This is going to be another police cover-up. So the city secretary did not only give me the information, they are withholding it, and they sent a letter requesting that it be withheld to the Texas Attorney Generals. This is what our city attorneys are capable of. So just going down the list here, and by the way, Manor Community Coalition on Facebook has some pretty good information. And by the way, my lawsuits are going to federal court now. I filed federal racketeering case against you guys. Unfortunately, it's not just Manor. This is the way Texas corruption works. So now we have the city council reports. Just out of curiosity, how come you guys can't put the dollar amounts there? You put tier 2, 3 things, no dollar amount. Tier 5, 3 things, no dollar amount. You're just hiding that, just to be evasive. This is what you think politics is supposed to do. Then we have the departmental reports too. Speaking of finance, we have like about 1.2 million in hotel tax funds. Those are for heritage, tourism, and lots of things for the community. Why can't you guys think of anything to spend them on? The last thing you spent it on was a poorly done paint job on the water tower. That's how long it's been since you spent the hotel tax funds. It's just embarrassing, the amount of creativity we don't have in this city. Okay, also in there, the parks money, Ms. Pena has $10,000. Our parks fund has over $1 million by now. If it doesn't, I can't believe it. If it doesn't, someone's siphoning it off. I remember point blank when Scott Dunlap told me we had $850,000 in there, and the previous finance director had like $85,000. So these park funds are just kind of disappearing at random. Speaking of which, also, I did a Freedom of Information request, and they told me that the city had been paid $139,000 or whatever from Manor Crossing with no detail whatsoever. That's not information. The planning people, they need to have little worksheets that tell what that park money is. It's 2,000 houses at X number per house times so many acres times what amenities. That's what a workshop is, or a worksheet, excuse me. Okay, we have the city charter talking today. That was one of the most bogus bunch of baloney. You guys got played for fools. Completely played for fools. That should have been a public engagement thing, opportunity to bring our whole city together. The charter is our constitution. You did it totally in secret. And by the way, I'm going to file another Class C misdemeanor against all of you on that. That's the only thing that's going to get you guys to learn how to do a city council meeting. It's when you start having to pay money. I've got 36 stacked up. How long do you think the Judge Caballero is going to cover for you guys? Okay, we also... Caroline, Manor Heights. I want to know how many acres of parkland is in that. And by the way, when you do a site map that is so tiny and you blow it up and you can't read it, that is also a lie of omission. Have you guys ever heard of 300 DPI? We need a map that we can blow up and we can read. Sorry to yell. That's my remonstrance, of course, you know by now.
Just remind you of decor.
What's that?
Remind you of decor. Address us, not the
You're
people in the
reminding me of
audience.
what? Decorum?
Address us, not the people in the audience. You still have 30 seconds.
Can I have those 5 seconds back?
I gave it to you 30
Oh, you
seconds.
did. Are we ever going to get a timer light here, you think? I'd hate to take your job from you. Okay, we're planning reporting commissioners. Why do we need interns? Can't we afford people that can do a job? Do we have to really go do interns? This is you guys looking like you're trying to do something. And by the way, the Gold Coin Mayor's Program, is that for 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, or adults? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving along, we have, let's see, Mr. Bertram.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My
Good
name
evening.
is Ben Bertram. I'm a 5-year resident of Manor. I'm a certified arborist, and I serve as the program director at Tree Folks. We're a nonprofit that plants trees and gives them away. We've been working in Central Texas for over 35 years. We've helped to distribute over 100,000 trees and plant over 1 million trees. And I'm excited to share much of this work has been done through the Neighborwoods program. It's a partnership with Tree Folks in the city of Austin. Well, recently we partnered with with HEB also. And I'm excited to announce that we're going to be partnering with them at their new store on January 31st. And we're going to be giving away 300 trees. So I wanted to invite you all to come and participate and bring trees home. We've going to distribute a mix of shade trees, fruit trees, and flowering trees. These are all 5-gallon size, about my height. It's a great family event. We're going to have English and Spanish materials available so that everybody can be served. This is going to start at 11 a.m., but most folks show up early because we give out all the trees pretty quickly. So we're going to be able to serve about 150 households. I'm hoping that all those can come from our community. We're going to let participants know that we're going to check up on the trees because planting is just the beginning. So I'm excited for this event. This is going to be our first time in Manor, and I hope you all can join. I've got some flyers to check out. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure our Parks and Tree folks are excited about that. Let's see, next we have, is it Ira Freelich? Freelich, thank you. And so you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Evening. I was here last July with a statement from Travis County about standing with the Constitution against abuses of power from the federal government. At the time, I felt most of you looked uneasy or unsure of what I was warning against. I hope that the news has made it a little bit more clear. Masked, unidentified secret police who claim to be agents of the federal government are currently violating the civil rights of people all over this country. This has been well documented in California, Chicago, New Orleans, Memphis, and now even in Minnesota. Even in Kyle, Texas, where just last week men claiming to be federal agents beat someone in a parking lot so badly that they needed emergency medical attention. The threat is real, it is here, and it will not go away, even if we pretend really hard that it will not affect us. We cannot and must not sacrifice the Constitution of the United States because of political debate based on half-truths and fear-mongering. A secret police force that so openly disregards our civil rights is a threat to us all. The callous disregard for the rule of law and claims of absolute immunity for federal agents to violate our rights is not some principled back the blue stance. It is the collapse of our society into a might makes right chaotic mess where law enforcement becomes even more dangerous, not safer. Make no mistake, they will probably double down. But the fear I feel in making this statement is the very reason why I'm making this statement. The only path forward is to stand firm in my resolve to the rule of law and the Constitution of the United States of America, something we all swore to preserve, protect, and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Okay, we have public hearings. Public hearing number 1, conduct a public hearing on a specific use permit for up to 13,000 square feet medical office, one lot on 6.67 acres more or less, and being located, being lot 1A, block A, Los Enchiladas North, section 3, also known as 12420 Tailgate Pass, Maynard, Texas. And we have first up Mr. Robert. Yeah, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name's Robert Battle. This is a property that, for some unknown reason, you guys assigned as TERS number 2. A TERS number 2, any TERS is for blighted properties that would otherwise not be developed. This is not blighted at all. This is a giveaway to Pete Dwyer from Scott Dunlap. Scott Dunlap is still running our town. So let me say this. I'd like to know, is a public hearing. So in theory, you guys give us some answers. It seems to stop doing that. Okay. What is the TERS thing? You guys are the board of TERS, and you also report to yourselves. That's a conflict of interest. You did that on TERS number 3 as well. It's just another giveaway. They're trying to give away millions of dollars to Pete Dwyer, who doesn't need it. Furthermore, what kind of person would put a tire store next to a restaurant? To me, that's poor white trash type stuff. So, now planning and zoning had some good input. Pardon me?
I'm gonna give you a final warning on inappropriate comments.
I don't need you to tell me what is inappropriate. I'll ask you. You can give me a list of appropriate comments if you'd like.
You're not going to talk over me. You're going to listen to what I'm saying. We're not going to make any comments that can be perceived as derogatory or make people feel uncomfortable in this place. You can address things to council. You can say what you want to say about me and my leadership, but we're not going to make derogatory comments.
This is another example that you do not understand what the word remonstrance means.
That is your warning. You have 45 seconds left.
Okay. Every commercial development over 10 acres, you guys can maybe remember this, is required in our codes to put in a plaza. You did a little map of 290 with little stars on it, 4 stars. My map has 4 letter P's for plazas. Pete Dwyer needs to put in a plaza. Monarch Ranch needs to put in a plaza. HEB needs to put in a plaza, and Barth Timmerman needs to put in a plaza. That's 4 plazas that you guys don't have the courage to even ask for. How do you explain that? You guys, to me, are such a charade. We have $100 million. You can't even put in a ping pong table in like 6 years. And you want to tell us how much you love our children? Why are the parks all empty?
That's your time.
My question stands unanswered. Why are the parks empty?
Moving on. Come on up, sir.
Mayor Council, my name is Michael Burrell, Development Services Director for the City of Manor. The applicant has actually requested that the public hearing for this item remain left open until the February 4th meeting, and to also push the regular item until the 4th as well.
Okay. Council members, do you have any questions about the information on item number 1? This item does not impact the TERS. This is about a special use permit. So I want to make sure that that clarification is there. The public hearing is about a special use permit, not the TERS. The TERS was already approved and passed in the past. TERS 1, 2, and 3 was passed prior to now. So this is actually about a special use permit. There's no other discussion on the table, then entertain a motion to keep the public hearing open.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we keep the public hearing for item number 1 open until February 4th, 2026.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Which one? Birthday boy. Second by Councilman Moreno. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Motion passes. Moving right along to the consent agenda. All items will be on the consent agenda will be considered self-explanatory by council and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion items unless requested by the mayor or council member, in which the items will be removed from council consent agenda and considered separately. Any item numbers that you all would like to see pulled out separately between 2 through 6? Number 2, consideration, discussion, possible action to approve city council meetings. Number 3, consideration, discussion, possible action accepting December 2025 council monthly reports. Number 4, consideration, discussion, possible action on accepting the December 2025 departmental reports. Number 5, consideration, discussion, possible action on easement donation agreement with Dalton Wallace. Number 6, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a professional service agreement with Lexpo LLC for a public safety platform to aid in policymaking and implementing training and use of force and pursuit reporting and internal investigations. Any of those items, council members?
Number 4, can we pull?
Number 4?
Yes.
Okay, any other items?
And number 6.
Number 4 and number 6. All right, do we have a motion on the floor for 2, 3, and 6 on the consent agenda?
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that
I'm sorry, 2, 3, and 5.
we approve the consent agenda with items 2, 3, and 5 as read.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Ware. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 4, consideration, discussion, possible action on accepting the December 2025 departmental reports. Who do you want to bring up? Or what is your question?
Sorry. 2, 1. One was finance. Just wondering about with
No.
but not available. But it's okay. But I guess it's more for city manager. It's been a quarter since the new fiscal year, and then just kind of wanting to know the percentage of the budget being used so far, and maybe possibly having a budget meeting, just an update about it with the finance director. And then also the PD for chief, just because I saw the response time went to 4. Just wondering what are we doing?
December, yeah, good evening, Mayor Council. December is always an interesting month for us, especially the last couple days when we get inundated with firework and shots fired calls. And so we stayed pretty tied up in that. There's a variety of reasons why that number fluctuates, but usually in December, that's the one.
I was wondering if there was a number of like either streets were just like very packed or closed or something.
I think it's just the sheer number of calls we get when fireworks start to sell. When the stands open, we see those calls increase, and then I come out and I work the street on New Year's Eve to New Year's Day with the night shift, and it is incredible the number of fireworks that go off in the city and how many calls we get for that.
Really?
So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Moore, do you think we can work on that? Setting up that workshop, that part 2. I know we had talked about that in September-ish about bringing back the budget and looking at amendments and different things like that.
Yes, sir, we can do that. We can look at either the 4th or the 18th. I think the items, we do have a couple of workshops already scheduled. If you want it before the council meeting, I can see if we can do the 18th, which again would give us an opportunity to look at the quarter and then be able to look at the budgeted items that you requested.
18th of February,
Yes, sir.
around or before that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, without having a special workshop on loan, if you wanted to keep it on the regular schedule, we could either shoot for the 4th or we could shoot for the 18th. But I just want to make sure at 18th we give us another monthly report, which we could do as well. It's for the council.
Councilwoman Hill?
That works for me.
Okay.
We can
Alright, so
just make sure we have an item for just that budget piece for the 18th.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the report?
Yes, I have a question for Development Services, Michael. Just wondering how the coordination working between ESD 12 and Development Service on commercial projects.
Hold on, sir. This is not a space for walking around. I said this is not a space for walking around. Okay. And can we make sure you take care of that at the beginning so we don't have disruptions? Take care of that in the beginning so we don't have disruptions. Go ahead, Mr. Councilman Moreno.
Yeah, so just to reiterate my question, I'm just wondering the coordination, how's that working between you guys, Development Services, and ESD 12 on commercial projects, and if there's anything council needs to know.
The communication between ourselves and the ESD has been pretty solid, very open in terms of that line of communication. We have challenges, of course, with any development where certain things may be done out of order or done without permission, so to speak, but that's not necessarily on anyone's fault. It's just things fall through the cracks and we work pretty swiftly to try to get them corrected. But all in all, the relationship's very solid. We are currently in communication with them about updating our fire code as well as our building codes to 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
Did
But
we ever,
we actually,
I'm sorry. Did we ever get feedback regarding, I think one of the council members asked a question in regards to the businesses when we've done a lot of those grand openings, referring back to us saying that everything went well except for that process with the fire code. So have we ever gotten feedback or solicited feedback on what those delays were so that we can better understand what's transpiring?
No, sir. Well, not that I've directly gotten from the fire department in terms of what the delays were. Most of what our department is seeing is when it comes to, say, your alarms, getting your alarm permits. That's something that's not typically on the forefront of people's minds, and that can delay you in case you're getting ready to open and it's like, oh, I need a fire alarm permit, or your sprinklers, your fire flow not necessarily being where it needs to be during certain times of day if you run a test. But I haven't had too much communication on that, and we can certainly make it a priority.
Yeah, if we can go through the 2025 openings and get that feedback from those businesses, because it was a pretty standard comment from every single, I won't say every single, but from a majority of those businesses, that everything was smooth except for that one piece. And so we can get their actual comments about what took place and what transpired, and then see if it is something procedural that we need to put time and attention to, or make people aware of earlier in their permitting process. Like I said, if it's a fire flow thing, or whatever, and they can't, pressure is low at certain times, and that person is but the check time is always at that same time of the day, then we need to have those kind of conversations with whoever's checking, just to look for patterns and trends, so that we can improve that process. Because for the most part, we always have very, very favorable feedback, and so this tends to be our only area of snag, and it's been our only area of snag for a few years, and so just want to see how we can get ahead of that.
Yes, sir. We'll make it a priority to have that meeting as soon as possible.
Yeah, I can echo to what we've been doing with ESD on another front with the new station opening, is suggesting to put something in their report to reflect delays or anything that's reflective of back and forth, because I did tell them after the TJ Maxx openings that there were some comments, and they're willing to make some adjustments to their report to reflect any back and forth like that, so that way it's reflective in their reporting that there is some secondary follow-up, not to our doing, but just to the developer. Sometimes if they do things and not according to plan, that's when there's a snag, and we're hoping to get them all to understand that here's the checklist, and if they follow the checklist, it should be good. But if not, that's when a lot of the comments come, and that's what we get at the openings. It's just the store manager doesn't know what the general manager or the project manager knows, and so that's where it seems like the store manager is just echoing what the contractor has shared with them. So we can make sure on our part that we had extended the invitation for the fire chief to be here. So at the next meeting, we'll make sure he's here at the February 18th meeting to be able to address that and let you know what they're doing in their reporting to be reflective of any concerns that we know shouldn't be, but that we can know that they're working on it, and it's not just us going to an opening and face something that we didn't know, wasn't aware of. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And if they're not, if the schedule is conflicts, because they're out saving the world, they can at least provide the context to you all, so that you all have it in some type of kind of like notes section. That way you can be able to speak on some changes, because there are some additions that are new into the report that I noticed, and it might have been good to just kind of have a little bit of notes on kind of what those pieces meant, and because it may be that some of the things that we're asking for is here, but it's just not labeled or explained in layman's terms. And so because there's a review turnaround section, but it doesn't really say what review turnaround is that between the ESD 12 and the vendor, when it's talking about builder development meetings or something like that, is it specific to the claims that people are making, or is this actually connected to something else? So just a little context on that will help and make sure that we're closing those loops.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments on that report?
Could we have Matt?
Which one? Parks. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Okay, I'd like to just kind of settle something right now. Are ping pong tables still on back order?
They actually are delivered.
They're actually delivered.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which parks are they going in?
Timmerman.
Okay.
And we were looking at the Manor Arts part, but I think that's going to be limited in space, but definitely Timmerman Park. We're going to have to construct a concrete pad for it and get that going.
Okay, and what is going in Timmerman Park? Not Timmerman Park, that question, and also what is actually going into the art park that would
Yes,
make
ma'am.
that space limited?
We've got a date now where we can go get the bridge artwork. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And what all is going in Timmerman Park?
we're also going to we have also cornhole stuff that we're getting, and it's going to be more of a permanent, it's a industrial style type of cornhole and ping pong table.
To be weather permitting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other additions or questions? All right, we'll take a need a vote for number 4, consideration, discussion, possible action on accepting the December 2025 departmental reports. Is there a motion on the floor?
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we accept consent agenda number 4.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Any questions to the motion? No questions. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Item number 6. Lexpool LLC agreement. Consideration, discussion, possible action on a professional service agreement with Lexpool LLC for a public safety platform to aid in policymaking and implementation, training, and use of force for pursuit, reporting, and internal investigations. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I guess, just since it's public safety, and transparency, I was just wondering if you could, just elaborate a little bit on what this item is.
Sure. So we currently use a program called SmartForce that helps us manage our policies. Our policies are adopted through Texas best practices, and we were having a hard time. Month to month, we review policies. They each have an expiration date and a review date, and that system doesn't plug directly into the Texas best practices through Texas Police Chiefs Association. This system plugs automatically in, and therefore any updates or changes in best practices policies is then automatically update in our system, pushed out to our officers, and it is then forces them to read and acknowledge in some test the changes in the policy to the officers to show that they did read it, and then we are able to maintain that. In the event of a lawsuit, we pull that and show that the officer was trained on that specific policy. That's just one of the main aspects of why we went into looking at changing the software that we currently use. This is also going to make it easier for our internal investigations, our reviews of pursuits, and our reviews of use of force. Anytime an officer uses force or gets into a pursuit, it automatically generates special reports where it's reviewed and ensured that is within the policy of the department. And then if it's not, does it dictate training? Does it dictate discipline? And so on. Currently, we do those through paper folders, and so this will allow us to input it into the system that can reference and automatically look up our policies and procedures when those things are reviewed. It will also take key things out of those reviews and flag when we need to pay attention to an officer that may have used force too many times, right? And is that something that we need to be paying attention to, or is that just the circumstance of what the officer is assigned to? So it is going to provide us a lot of technology on stuff that we're currently using paper files for.
Other questions about Lexipol? Am I pronouncing it right? Lexipol, right?
Lexipol.
Yeah.
I wish they were here to answer some questions, because I have a little bit of concern I kind of always had about the role of private companies in shaping public safety policy.
Mm-hmm. They don't shape the policy. Yeah. So when we adopt policy through Texas Police Chiefs best practices, and so when that policy comes to us, we review it and they give indications on how things should read. So when we adopt it and it's put into this system or whatever system we're using, this system in particular, when something is changed in a policy that we have adopted, then we will get notification, and whether we adopt it or not, it will then be pushed out to the officers. So this company doesn't really formulate the policy for us. It just houses it. It allows us to easily search it. It plugs it into our internal investigations. So if keywords are matched, then it will send up flags for us to review. And so that's all it does. It doesn't formulate the policy for us, though.
Did you have any concerns about the fact that they had a data breach in 2025?
I mean, that's always concerning, but data breaches are, pretty common. And so I think that what we should look at is how did they respond to that data breach, and what was their actions to that. This company is widely used in law enforcement all across the country, and so I think that they have an excellent reputation. And we compared multiple companies, and one that we're really close with and came in number 2, but that we like other products of theirs. But at the end of the day, this one just offered much better products for what we're needing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I did have one other thing. Do they have in any of this policy or any of the things, will they be able to help you guys or provide information on grants that would help find funding to help with policy implementation and risk management?
I'm glad you brought that up. It does have in it a tool that allows us to identify grants available for not only public safety, but for communities as a whole. So if it's something even the city needs on the city side, this program will help us identify grants. So yes.
Thank you. That's the last one, I promise.
What were the other software companies that were in the running?
So we reviewed the changes with the current company that we were with, which was SmartForce, and then Versiterm.
There was one through Versiterm called iPro and Blue Teams, and it was specific to internal affairs investigations and complaints and such. It does not do the policies, and the one we chose to go with has a lot more options, and the other one is probably twice the price of the option we're choosing to go with.
Yeah. So you more so leaned into this one because of the integration. You lean more into this one because of the integration with all the different programs versus the bits and pieces some of those software programs provide. They don't have the full gamut.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the implementation and the ability for us to adopt policy change recommendations from best practices is really big on us ensuring that we have up-to-date policies on changes in law and changes in law enforcement as a whole. So I think that this outweighed the other options greatly.
Yeah, it's a surefire way because I'm sure the Chiefs Association meets to update policy based off of the changes in the legislature. And so it gives for a universal way to have those policy changes in a succinct way. So I'm familiar with other associations that use that kind of format.
Yeah.
One, so that everyone has the same thing. But the delivery of it is key, important, and then the accountability, and then the measuring against the reports. I think that's the uniqueness of it. That allows you to look at what's been done and then have that lens on top of it. So
yeah, for sure.
Other questions, council members? None. I'll take a motion for item number 6.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we accept consent agenda item number 6.
Motion for by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir. All right, moving on. Item number 7. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on charter review amendments. Yes, ma'am.
Be safe.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Yuvi Almaraz, City Secretary. I'm here tonight with the Charter Review Commission on my left. They have been invited to present their findings, their proposed amendments tonight. So pretty much, just to give you a brief summary, they did meet we had 7 meetings throughout the year. In your summary form, it outlines the meetings that we had. First, I do want to clarify that these meetings were open to the public. There are an advisory board. They're not required to be live streamed. The meetings are not. But like I said, they were open to the public. Anyone was welcome to attend these meetings. They were not having secret meetings like some, just to clarify it out there, how some people are actually talking about it. And just also to clarify their duties, they pretty much were assigned to review the charter, which they did. They did had some heated conversations. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it down to them. We have the chair, Daniel Mendoza. We have Ms. Siobhan James, Praise Chickenzie. Did I say that right? Okay. Julie Leonard and Pablo Alvarez tonight.
All right. Thank you.
Mayor, before we get started, I'm sorry, thank you. Before we get started, I guess I wanted to know maybe from you, Ms. Huvia, just more of the process of how the charter review process goes. I guess this one is new to me this year, and so I guess
The charter, the process, how it is.
Yes.
So every 5th year, so per our city charter, the council is, they shall review, which was amended back in 2022, where council actually reviews the charter every 2 years. Every 5th year, per law and per our charter, the council appoints a commission. Then their task, in the summary form, I pretty much explained it, but I'll explain it for the public and the audience. It's an advisory board. An advisory board is responsible for evaluating and recommending updates or amendments to the city's charter. The commission duties include reviewing the current governing document, analyzing legal and procedural aspects, and proposing changes to enhance governance, efficiency, transparency, and accountability. And then their work ensures that the city's constitution aligns with the current needs, laws, and best practices, supporting the city's ongoing development and operations. Normally, we meet with the commission. They're scheduled in the evenings. They're normally about 6:30. They've lasted within an hour or two, sometimes 3 hours, and we break down the charter. They go into conversations, and just to explain, the commission is open to all residents of Manor. So we do have a process where we reach out to the public, and whoever is interested, we accept applications all year. When it comes up for the 5-year appointments, then we select, or also council has the authority to nominate residents. So in this case, so that's the process for this year. Our last charter review was done back in 2020. So now here we are the second. And like I said, tonight they're here to present their amendments. I'm not sure. I think that's a legal question regarding if they continue or not. They were appointed for 6 months, which
Come on up.
sure. Oh, okay. She can refer to the terms. I'll let you speak. Go ahead.
Mayor, council members, Veronica Rivera, Assistant City Attorney, to further provide you information now that the advisory committee, charter review committee, has finished their work. They're going to provide your presentation. There is no action tonight. It is just the presentation. That is what city staff is recommending, so that city council can have the time, which you do have, because any amendments would go up for the ballot in November, and you would be calling that election with any amendments in August. We do not have a calendar yet. I checked with city secretary, and there is no calendar yet on when the deadlines are, but as soon as we have those, we will provide those to you so that you're aware, because this time around, the recommendation is from your charter review committee that there should be some amendments made. But again, this is an advisory committee and you have the final say on them. And if you'd like for them to meet again with you, yes, they're in the charter. It says that they are appointed for 6 months, but that is not an issue. We can ratify for them to continue if you'd like. If you have any questions, the charter is silent on them coming back as well. So again, we can ratify if you'd like for them to continue, but they could come back if you have any additional questions. Does that help you with your question or answer your question?
Yes, I think so. I guess it's for the sake of knowing we did receive the information and all the edits that were suggested and things like that. And so I guess where I was concerned was the information that was brought, but then is it council bringing separate information as well, and then it's combined? So do we present back to the charter committee so that they can understand our side before it goes to ballot? Or
so you can. It is up to city council on how you would like to you would like to proceed, because yes, this is first blush, right? So you haven't had an opportunity to look at it, and what will happen is that yes, you will have time to look at it, digest it. If you have some additional questions, you can definitely ask the committee, or you can ask the city secretary, or the attorney from our firm that actually participated in the charter review committee meetings was Barbara Bulwer Wells, and she was at every meeting. She unfortunately was not able to attend tonight, but she can also provide some additional information on how they came to the conclusions that they did or the recommendations that they did. But yes, again, this is what is being provided to the city council, and then y'all will digest it and decide if you want to make some additional revisions to it or some additions as well yourselves to have them on the ballot. And then we would bring this back to you at another date that, again, we will take the lead from y'all on when you want them. The only thing is that I just wanted to remind y'all that there is a deadline though, and we're waiting for that from the Texas Secretary of State for the August deadline. Anything else?
yes. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I guess I came more concerned.
Go ahead.
So my concern is, where does the final draft, or is that legal only, or is that
It's us.
No,
it's just us with wording and everything?
Yeah, we take the information that comes from the charter. We sit down, we go through the charter, and in addition to their recommendations, and come up with a final list. Then that happens here at council, the final list after we go through as well, and that's the list that we take in August to the voters to review.
So the list that that is being provided tonight and that's being presented by your advisory committee, that you will again digest and make sure and determine whether you want to make any edits, and then you would vote on any edits or not moving forward with any of the amendments that have been provided to you and any additions. So it rests with you at the end, like the mayor said.
Yeah, same as what we did 5 years ago. We, like I said, we build from here, and then and add all of the different items, and then at some point in time, and we have to agree on the final items that goes for a vote, that goes to the ballot. And we have to do that between now. That was the reason why we wanted to start last in the fall, was so that they had enough time to do their part, so that we have enough time to actually build from that part, and then have a final in July-ish, and then make a final announcement. I think it's in August when we have to make an announcement for the November election. So we was trying to make sure we met the deadlines.
I guess I just felt like last time there was a workshop and a collaboration between the charter and the council before there was a presentation that was provided, just to ensure like there was definitely fully informed choices that were made and recommendations that were made from the charter side to.
And you're right. We did start that way last time, but I think what City Secretary was saying was we can still have the conversations at any point in time if we need to go back and revisit with them. So we'll be doing it a little bit backwards from what we did before. But you're right. We did start with that direction in the beginning. I think even it was different how it started last year.
So
not last year, 5 years ago. Yeah.
So there's no procedure, but there's nothing to keep you from having a workshop with your advisory committee or just the city council to continue. And I think the city secretary is going to have some additional comments.
Yes, just to clarify from 2020. So the Charter Commission at that time was appointed like in January. So they had their 6 months. It got really close for the election. There was a deadline to meet 7. So council did meet, but it was a regular council meeting, and you guys did, well, at that time, the council did dialogue with the charter review, and they went back and forth. But it was done in a regular meeting, not a workshop. But this year, being that we had to, it's different because we actually have more time. So the commission had to be appointed in 2025. They have their 6 months, and it still gives room for council to have a workshop and digest everything they did what they were supposed to do. It's back, they're presenting. Now, it's totally up to you whether you want to have, I do recommend to have a workshop among yourselves, but totally up to you as well if you want to invite the commission or not.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Daniel Mendoza. I am the chair of the Charter Review Commission. You'll get to hear from a few of us as we come up and present our slides. As Ms. Ubia said, we're going to go ahead and present the propositions and changes to Maynard's Charter. For a little bit of context, we began this in August. We have met 7 times, and each of those times we went ahead and reviewed every single section, every single article. And it was essentially our goal to make sure that we're keeping up with Maynard's growth and we're keeping up with the surrounding communities and having similar policies and so on. That is why we are here today to propose these changes. We think that the analysis that we've done of those surrounding communities, just the analysis of other charters or just in general, keeping up with growth, with state law, we've looked at all of those different aspects, and that's why we've come to these conclusions. They honestly required a good amount of discussion. We were here several hours. There were different point of views, some on one side, some on the other. We had to come to compromises, and once again, I hope that you, council, mayor, community, I hope you believe us that this was taken very seriously. And this is the summary of our efforts. So I have it right here. Awesome. Okay. So I guess we can jump right into this. We're going to go ahead and discuss the first proposition, which is A. Specifically, this one was more of like a proofreading change. It was a long paragraph with basically a very long run-on sentence. And we've recommended for it to be just changed to bullet points just for clarity, just so it makes a little more sense and easier to read. So then moving on to B. B is also just to be in accordance with state law regarding annexation, specifically unilateral annexation powers. So yeah, our recommendation is just to align with the current state law. And the next change, Proposition C, that one goes over term limits. It was our understanding that not too long ago it was changed to 4 years. And this one was another idea brought upon by compromise, because there were some that believed that less was required, that 4 was okay, and eventually we came together with the conclusion of having 3-year terms and essentially just doing the 3 consecutive term limits and then a 1-year break in between for eligibility purposes. So that is both C and D there, bringing those up. I'm going to move along now to Proposition E. So this one goes into detail about compensation. We reviewed the surrounding communities, specifically Hutto, Pflugerville, Buda, Elgin, and we looked at the payouts and we looked at like the amount of work done. And if there was one thing we compromised on more than anything, it was definitely this one, because we had ideas on this side and ideas on this side, and we had to come together. And what we came up with was the removal of the tier system, replaced by an introduction of a flat rate. Specifically for council, that is $500 per meeting, essentially totaling $1,000 per month, and $600 for the mayor, essentially $1,200. And again, that is Proposition E. I am going to now pass it along to our next commissioner over here to.
Before you
speak on
pass,
the-
I wanted to
Yes.
give you context, and I think this is what Councilwoman Deja Hill was hinting at in regards to that meeting that took place prior. It was to provide context in regards to what took place prior, so you can have that kind of prior history and information in regards to what was actually in the charter before,
right?
Why it was removed out, what people were saying during that time period. I think that's what she's saying, and that some of that context would have probably helped maybe with some of that decision making during that process, specifically centered around the compensation piece, and in regards to language going into the charter. And I think so anyway, so I think that's why is that kind of, Councilwoman Hill, is that kind of connected to why you were saying that? Okay. All right.
Understood. Thank you for clarifying.
Good afternoon. Good evening. I am Pablo Amaraz, one of the commissioners, and it was an honor to be a part of this project, and it was very eye-opening for all of us. We had lots of discussions. So we're just going to go through slides briefly, and I was tasked to go over this one here. Summary of changes proposed, adding recall into the section titled Section 6. The title reads Initiative and Referendum. Recommended. Prop F, change to initiative, referendum, and recall. Adding the recall powers to the chapter. Section 608, current is no recall language in the charter. Recommended Prop G, set up a recall power, petition requirements, and election and post-election processes. Changing the section numbers. Post new recall section 6.09, 610, 611, 612, recommended Prop H, I, J, K, sections numbers to be adjusted +1 after new section added. And to continue, summary of changes proposed, adding residency requirements for city manager position, section 7.01. Current, the city manager can reside within Travis County or contiguous county. Recommended Prop L, city manager must live within 10 miles of the city limits within 1 year of hire date. Adding the bond requirements process for employees, section 7.04. Current, no bond language for city employees in charter. Recommended Prop M, set up requirements and processes for fidelity bonds for applicable city employees. Next slide. Establish Economic Development Department, section 7.12. Current, no dedicated economic department. Recommended Prop N, establish Economic Development Department and related mandate and structure. Establish Parks and Recreation Department, section 7.13. Current, no dedicated Parks and Recreation Department. Recommended Prop O, establish Parks and Recreation Department and related mandate and structure. Establish a Library Department, 7.14. Current, no dedicated Library Department. Recommended Prop P, establish Library Department, related mandate and structure. Julie, be next. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Council.
Hello.
I did want to mention before we move on, I definitely think it would have been good to meet with you guys to have some perspective in advance of making decisions. So I would be for that. Like, that would make a lot of sense to me. We weren't flying blind, though. We did have Yuvia and Barbara, so they were able to give us a context. So we weren't just, so I think it would be helpful even more if we had you guys there too. So maybe in the future. Okay. So next slide.
You got the clicker.
Oh, I have the clicker. Oh, which one was the clicker? Okay. All right. The finance. So we had some, the financial director did come to one of the meetings where we covered this section too. So the city financial director was there, and we worked with her to make some recommendations. So really, these were kind of guided by her. So wanting to align things to the financial and purchasing policy, because they are developing financial and purchasing policies. It's not mentioned in the charter. So we wanted to add language per her direction to be able to align decisions around purchasing and contracts to align to her policy, because she's currently implementing a policy. So that was new. Independent auditor requirements. So previously there weren't any auditor restrictions, so you could keep using the same auditor over and over. We wanted to add language that restricted the auditors to less than 5 consecutive years. Next is the planning and development. So we've had a lot of, more activity and people wanting to serve as the city has grown. And so we, really thought about, should we set term limits? Because right now there aren't any term limits for planning and zoning. And so we did want to go ahead and you'll kind of see it consistent across the board. We tried to kind of make some of these commissions have some similar structure. So we wanted to add a 3 consecutive term limit and then 1 year break between eligibility. And then for planning and zoning, we also, obviously, we have a wealth of people that want to do planning and zoning now. There's never a shortage like maybe with some of the others. So we did want to restrict, kind of say, okay, if you're in a certain, let's say you own or you're developing land in Manor, maybe you can be used as an advisory person for planning and zoning, but not having a vote, right? Because that we wanted to kind of keep people who might have a potential, gain or loss from a decision that was made by planning and zoning from having a vote into decisions that they made. So then also for Board of Adjustments, again, there was not term limits or or that. And so we did want to say like 3 years is the term limit, or 3 consecutive terms is the limit, and then an additional break, and then they can do, they can start serving again. So those were standards there. And then community committee updates. So these are pretty minor. The emergency management committee wasn't numbered. There was no library board established, so we wanted to add emergency management committee as D and number it, and then establish a library board if we're going to have a library department. I think that I think this is my. Did y'all want to cover this, or anybody else want to cover this one? No, keep going. Okay. So then the final was, establish appointment restrictions for city boards and commissions. So right now there are not eligible. We basically wanted to say like familiar members within a 1 degree. Wanted to kind of set those up so that different boards and commissions, people in the council are restricted from appointing their family members to those boards, or people within a degree, like a 1 degree. And then this was the same with the charter. Our own commission wanted to add those restrictions as well, so that within 1 degree of familial, that we would not have anyone on the charter review commission that would be within that familial relationship with the council. So just trying to encourage independence and ethics, right? Trying to say, okay, let's keep these things truly independent while we collaborate, but also still having that, we have more people now who want to serve. So I think it's a good thing to have a lot of different voices. And that's it. Thank you.
So, I'm pretty sure we'll probably do this a little bit more formal later on, but we do want to thank you all for answering the call. We found y'all at parks, on social media, or wherever we found you, and asked you all to consider doing this, and y'all answered the call. So we appreciate y'all's hard work, navigating the changes, giving up that time and getting this work to us. And so I just want to thank y'all for that time commitment, and hope this is not the last thing that you do for us, and and that there's maybe some of y'all to be on that P&Z or other commissions, or even join up here. So thank you again for your hard work for that. I think our action for tonight, council, is to give direction on the workshops. I'm not sure that we're ready to actually set up a date yet. So I think we'll just accept the report and then come back and figure out those things, and then also negotiate a time when we'll honor our charter folks. That's everybody good with that? Okay. So again, thank you all again. Be on the lookout for those requests in regards to the next time where we're bring you back so that we can honor you and thank you for your time a little bit more formally. And then also, I guess if when we set up our times for workshops, if we need you all to be there, then we'll definitely send that out to you all as well. All right. So again, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate y'all. And you almost had the whole alphabet. All right. Number 8, second and final reading, consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding an ordinance rezoning 1 lot on 2.786 acres more or less, ambient TCAT parcel 236906, also known as 12725 US Highway 290, Manor, Texas, from A, agricultural to IN1, light industrial.
Mayor, Council, this is the item that was presented at the last council meeting, where the actual zoning category would be C3 heavy commercial. Available for questions. Sorry.
Questions, council members? Again, thank you all for y'all's feedback over the last few meetings, and thank you for working with the folks to get the right amount of restrictions and everything in there for the project and doing those research. So I'll take questions or a motion on this item.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the second and final reading of ordinance number 814, rezoning one lot on 2.786 acres, more or less in being TCAD parcel 236902, also known as 12725 US Highway 290, Maynard, Texas, from agricultural to C3 heavy commercial, with the suggested uses removed from the allowed used list.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Wallace. Any questions to the motion? No questions. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 9, Action Behavior Center. Let's see where we at. All right. Consideration, discussion, possible action on a specific use permit for up to 13,000 square feet of medical office on one lot on 6.76 acres, more or less, and being located at 1A, Block A, Las Entradas North, Section 3, also known as 12420 Teal Game Pass, Maynard, Texas. Council members, I'm going to ask if we can bring this one back after executive session.
This is actually the item that the applicant requested postponement till the 4th.
Okay, well, that works out even better. So can we get a postponement motion in place for that?
Mayor, Council, I'd like.
Oh, wait.
Mhm.
Hold on.
Mayor, council members, if you do want to discuss this item, then do not postpone and we can discuss it in executive session. Or if you want to if you're just needing time, then just go ahead and make your motion. But I just wanted to make sure that if you have questions for legal, then don't take action on this item and table it instead until after executive session.
Well, let's table it because I have a question.
Okay. So,
Okay.
if y'all can make a motion to table.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we table this item, item number 9, until after executive session.
Well, motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Moreno. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 10, consideration, discussion, possible action regarding the ordinance amending Ordinance 492, granting the Psy Energy LP a limited partnership, a franchise to, among other things, furnish and supply gas to the general public of state of Maynard, Travis County, Texas, and amend the definition of public right-of-way, modified identification section requiring compliance with our regulatory ordinances of the city, providing for other provisions related to the subject matter hereof, providing for saving clause, and providing an effective date. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Council, this item is to amend the franchise agreement we have with Sea Energy. We had a situation where infrastructure was being installed before the city was able to review the plans to know the location and the specifications of said infrastructure. So what this does is change the definition of what right-of-way is considered and also provides some other direction and protections for us so that we're aware of this infrastructure before it's put in the ground, so we're aware and it's a safer experience for everyone, because the last thing we would want is one of our guys or any utility provider in the right-of-way excavating and then they hit a gas line. So this is just to provide some extra safety for everyone.
Questions, council members? We need to bring this one back after executive too? Okay, that's why I'm saying. Just motion to table this until after executive session.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we table item number 10 until after executive session.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. We're gonna probably need to do the same thing for 11 council members. So go ahead and do that one since they're attached.
Mayor, Council.
Oh,
I'd
I'm
like-
sorry. Consideration, discussion, possible action on a release of liability agreement for Psy Energy. Now you can go ahead.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we table agenda item number 11 until after executive session.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Any questions? Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number 12, consideration, first reading, consideration, discussion, possible action on a rezone application amendment 4, Manor Heights Carry On subdivision, approximately 1,655 lots on 548.5 acres more or less, and being located at northeast corner of US Highway 290 and Old Kimber Road, Manor, Texas, from Plan Unit PUD to Plan Unit PUD. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Council, this item is only brought back so there's an official record of the developer withdrawing the request. The last time this was heard, it was made clear by council that it was to be brought back at this meeting date. This is just to clean that up so there's no confusion as to why there was never a resolution.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we acknowledge it. That's all we're doing. Moving to item number 13, resolution number, all right. Consider discussion and possible action on the resolution expressing support for the Travis County sponsored applications to Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organizations 2028 to 2031 call for projects. Mr. Moore.
Mayor, Council, the item before you this evening is the county's request for the city to support their 3 projects. So the one project is the Howard Lane extension from 130 to 290. The other request is the Wells Branch. It's a planning request. It's for the Wells Branch extension from basically 130 all the way over to 973. And the third request is Exhibit C, is from Taylor Lane extension Parsons, from basically Taylor Lane all the way to 290. And pretty much this window is allowing the county to submit these projects for consideration when it comes down to the 2028, 2031 call for projects. And as the community is growing, we need some more north, south, east, west corridors to be planned. And if these projects are not submitted, our planning window would be missed. And so the request for the county is to have the city support these 3 projects.
Are these are they up to be on the list, or are they up to be funded?
These are planning, so this to be included in the planning pool. I think there's different pools of submittals, and this for the county, this is more of a planning part for them, and then it'll help the county initiate the process to go ahead and plan, and then do some design, and that'll be the next step. Once it's planned, then they'll go to the next steps to get right away. So it's a multi-year process, and this may help the county include another call for road projects in the future. If these projects are on the campus list, the county would have, again, an obligation to put it on the ballot for hopefully future funding to get built. But if it's not on the plan, there's no opportunity for it to get funded or be on a county's call for road projects. So hopefully in the future, this will allow the county to be in a position to come back our way with projects, and then hopefully get something added. Because I think what happened in 2017 when Blake Manor was identified, it was probably part of the campus call for projects back in the 2015 or so plan, and that's why that got on the ballot to get approved. And so that's usually how it works with all the transportation projects, because I think everybody's always concerned about projects and transportation. As we grow, we have to be on a plan. And if any of our roadways are not on the plan, there's a window, like the mayor indicated when I got here, that's a 25-year window that got missed. And so if we miss these windows, it could be another 10 or 15 years before we add something to the plan. So the goal for us is people in the viewing audience and on live stream, try to figure out we're advocating for the county's projects, but we also have a list of projects ourselves. And it's part of the packet, and we've got about 6 project areas as well. Greg Lane, we got Old Kimbrough, we got Tower, we got Johnson, we got Highway 20, the bridge. So we got projects that we know right now at any given time during rush hour, if there's something happening, the roads that we have identified need to be addressed. And so that gives us a chance to be able to submit some projects to be part of the process, because if not, if we don't submit these, it'd be another 10 or 15 years before our projects come, unless a developer comes to the city. But again, all these there's subdivisions on both sides in this area off Greg Lane. That's not part of that development. So we have to put something on there to let the voters know and the citizens know we're doing our part to get projects submitted. So we're going to ask for a letter of support from Senator Eckhart's office, Representative Cole's office, Cap Metro, TxDOT, all these agencies that work with us to get a letter of support, so that way when they go through the scoring process, hopefully the traffic count that's on our list of projects will show if we got 14,000 homes planned over the next 7 to 10 years and you average 2 cars per home, you're looking at another 28,000 cars that's going to be coming to our community. And so we want to make sure we submit projects that, that's been way overlooked, for us to submit something that we know our residents would see that we're doing our part. And it's a process, no guarantees, but at least we can have some people advocate for us at Campo to see that Mainer's in need of projects to be planned just like the county. And if it can work hand in hand, hopefully of the 9 projects that we submit, we're hoping that we can get some consideration for all of them, because all of them are justifiable. We just need their support so we can plan, do our next phase of planning and looking at right-of-ways and things that are needed for us to maybe come to future funding from our residents.
Questions, comments, council members?
So if any of these projects advance, through Campo, will they update us on the process of any particular project? Because I guess for me, that concern is, I don't want to miss any opportunities. For example, Blake Manor Road, it was fixed to a certain extent, but we kind of missed that opportunity for us to fix the remainder.
Right. And I think that's the whole part when you have the projects like that. And that's why we were trying to get a interlocal agreement with the county, so that way we can work better together. When they're working on projects, we can come to the council and say, would you help us do our part? And so this is, again, letting the county know you have Howard, you have Wells Branch, but Wells Branch is also going down Greg Lane, which we submit. And right now, anybody that travels Greg Lane know that it's a tight corridor, and we want to make sure we not only show pictures, but we show the average daily traffic. And then as all those projects touch 290 and 973, we'd have to circle back with TxDOT and say, as you do the feasibility study, anticipate this being a super collector road to touch. So it'll help with some of the planning part with TxDOT, so that way we don't miss that window of a road that should be planned for a major intersection at 290 and 973.
Are they going to, because part of Council, I don't know if you remember, but we've been talking about transportation for a minute. In the 2017 council bond and package, not council, county, these actual road projections were there. And so I actually have that transportation pulled up. And many of these projects, they had a cost, or it said funds committed, but then a lot of them weren't funded. And so I think, Councilmember Moreno, to kind of go to your question, these are not going towards specific funds that are available to go to projects. These are going to a series of grant requests for that. And so, Mr. Moore, my question is, my comment is, I am glad that these projects are going, that the county is saying, hey, support these projects, because they have a huge impact on what happens in Manor, moving north, south, east, and west. So kudos to you going to the meetings and establishing that relationship. in the last Campo meeting. Got a lot of positive feedback about you being present at that, so thank you for being there. But my question is there a backup plan for these roads out of the current bond money that's been already collected? And don't need necessarily have to answer like tomorrow, but I just want to know because of the sources that they're going to be trying to push for are federal, and so it's not so. The money we try to get from Campo is hitting the entire region. The money we try to get for TxDOT is for the whole state. And so now we're going for even a larger, we're going to the federal level where there's a ton more applications still for major road needs. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so it's kind of like we really need these roads done. But we keep having to petition up higher where the pool gets wider. For that. And so I'm just wondering, is there can we have that conversation with the county and with Campo, as the what's the plan B in regards to utilizing, Campo's allocations or their support towards TxDOT allocation of funds or county funds for this project? Just if you can, find the right time to ask that question.
Okay.
Because we're going up into 3 areas that's highly competitive for funding.
Right. I would say one thing for just one of the projects that I see that could really is justifiable is when you look at the Wells Branch and you look at Samsung and Taylor and Samsung off of Palmer. When you see that volume of investment that's made in Williamson County, Travis County, and the road infrastructure is not there, we know that, again, just that question. But I think the bigger question is, like you said, what's the backup? Because it could be several years before funding would come our way, but at least the planning part and the investment to know that we're going to do our part, because our residents are going to feel the load, and if we don't do what we're doing, the load's going to be like wind. It's just going to get a relief. And so
and so I mean, if we can actually, and I think just for our internal team, and then just for that next transportation meeting, either with Campo and county, just even take this map and y'all, I'm on the transportation blueprint map on the county's page. If we can take that map and I can send it to y'all, so I can send it out to everybody so you can see it. If we can ask them to update all of the previously unfunded projects, and just let us know which projects are on their list to fund, and so that we just kind of can let the folks know, because all of these areas that have all the unfunded areas, that's all of our Manor area north to 290. And so if they're planning on doing it in those roads, we can let the people know, so they can say, hey, yes, these images came out, over the last 6 or 7 years. By the way, the county plans on doing this. Like, I think we'll put out that, hey, we're submitting this to Campo, we're supporting the county, we're submitting this to Campo, so that they can solicit those 3 grant funds to try to fund these 3 roads. But it'd be awesome to know if any of these existing roads are already on their plans for funding. Any of these north or south of 290 in our area. That would be good to know.
Yes, sir.
And if they're still going to do it at that same, because some of them were 2-lane, some of them, many of them were 4-lane roads. And I think that's really, really, really 4-lane divider roads. And I think when we talk about moving traffic, those 4-lane divider roads is one way to do it. So and there was a couple of, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 3 of them were 6 lanes. And so, and that's one of them is Greg Lane.
Right.
So if we're going, and I know that's one of the proposed to send to them, but if they also have a backup plan to still do that at the 6 lanes, then I think that's something like we really should let the public know that, one, these plans here are the plans of the county. Help us help them advocate for this federal funding, for the state funding, so that we can get what we need so these projects can be done.
And I think the school district could help too, because when they transport between the two campuses,
Mhm.
that's another voice. If the school's going to grow and expand, that transportation piece is important. So,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But I think all of those entities are going to matter, and I think the ones that have the movement most are those big corporations and the residents. Because when they see residents chiming in on a road, I mean, we've already seen that. Anytime we go to TxDOT and Campbell's road projects, the majority of what we see in there, the difference that I've seen in looking at comparisons on projects that get funded and projects that don't, is the community engagement notes. The community engagement notes are in the thousands for those projects that actually get funded. For ours, we spend months just to get to several hundred. And so that's what I'm saying. If we can, this type of information, showing them these things, and then saying, "Hey, this we're going." The county is asking us. They've heard us about these roads. They're asking us to do a resolution. Not only we're going to do a resolution for those 3, we're going to send 9 other roads, or however many other roads, for consideration as well. But let's also rally the community to be vocal at the right spaces, so that the Campbell and the county can say, we not only have the city resolution, but we also have thousands of residents that have communicated support for this. So if we give them what they need, then they can use these numbers in addition to their grant writing application, because that's what they're doing. They're going to send a proposal forward and ask and say, well, who supports this? It would be great to say we have something from the city, but we also have something from the residents that goes forward and does that. Makes a difference with those applications, because it's just going to go sit on the staffer's desk in the federal government. And this is literally what they're telling me when I go to the AMA and the U.S. mayor's meetings online, and we're sitting in there talking with these deputy chiefs of these departments. It's going to go to a staffer's desk, and the staffer is going to look at these particular components and make decisions about which ones to move into the piles for the consideration for that. And so it makes a difference. We don't think that because we don't know what happens when it gets to DC. This is what insight that they're providing us. So it's a very local decision-making process that happens at that level.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, I know for us as a community and the growth we've had since 22, without this window being extended to us, if we wouldn't be seeing all the development that we have, this would have been a missed opportunity. And so we want to make sure we don't miss an opportunity to just to say, here are the numbers, here's the data, and the residents can see that we're doing our part, and just asking them to be patient as we go through it, because it's the long game we have to be prepared for. But if we can do anything in the interim, is to make sure we get on the list, we get projects planned, and get all the right of ways secure, so that way when planning dollars or construction dollars are available, we can be in a position to see those projects move a lot quicker than another 7, 8, 10 year delay in addressing the transportation needs for our community.
Other questions, council members?
We would just like to reiterate that it is very important that the community speak out. I know that on social media we get a lot of, well, that's what we hired, that's what we voted for our council members for, but it is very important that the voice of the community be heard. So we need people to actually speak out.
Can I amend what you just said and say, speak in support?
Yes,
of the project.
speak in support of the project.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. I'll take either additional questions or a motion.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 2026-02, expressing support for the Travis County sponsored application to the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization's 2028 to 2031 call for projects.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Weir. Any questions to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 14, consideration, discussion, possible action on the reappointing of planning and zoning commissioners, places 2, 4, and 6.
Mayor, Council, as the item says, it's time for reappointments of these specific places. That is Commissioner Chavis, Commissioner Pires, and Commissioner Meyer. We have included their attendance reports. I'm available for questions, comments, concerns, and available for any other guidance or inquiry you have.
Do we have, so I guess the request is that we do not ask or open up for other interested parties, but to just reappoint them.
Now that the timing, I realize that the charter is completed, I believe they're available for appointment if you so choose. So that does open up that option. Whereas when it was originally drafted, we were trying to just make sure the seats were filled so that there weren't any issues with quorums. Assuming.
When is the term in?
January 1st.
Okay, so it's already in, and they're just filling it.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any interest, City Secretary, from anyone else?
Mayor and Council, no, we have not. It has not been marketed, open, to the public. So what we normally do, we ask the commissioner, the planning and zoning commissioners, if they're interested on getting reappointed. They responded. They were willing to. It is up to council. Like Michael said, the attendance report is in your backup. It is up to council whether you do want to reappoint another 2 years, or do you declare vacancies and open it up to the public. So it's however you choose. Currently, I do not have any P&Z applications on file. At least normally we accept them all year, and they're available within. We normally review those within the year. We reach out to certain, to the applicants if they're interested, but we haven't done that because we haven't, like I said, it hasn't been declared. A vacancy hasn't been declared.
I was specifically asking in regards to the Charter Review Committee members, because some of them had listed multiple spaces that they were interested in serving. So I didn't know if any of them had expressed interest or anything.
I did have a few. I need to go back and review and see who would be interested. We do have still 2 commissioners here. But it's totally up to council. And of course, we still have those 2 alternates vacant. That is not on the agenda. That's an item we would have to bring back. You can also direct staff to open it up for additional applicants if you want to go through that process. You can extend their term another month or so if you don't want to do the whole 2 years. I'm assuming that can be an option. No? Okay. Legal, okay.
Mayor, council members, you do not need to extend the term. Pretty much, they serve until you replace them. If their term has expired, basically they stay on
until we do it.
You either until you either reappoint or find replacements.
If I would say I would like to know if there was any interest from any of the charter members before I make a decision about reappointing. Say again?
Would you like to postpone the item?
That's just me. I mean,
I would agree with the mayor on that
I
one.
agree as well.
Do we table or
do you want her to find out for tonight, or do you want to bring it back?
I would like for this to be brought back. That way it gives you time,
Yes,
to reach out
thank
to
you.
them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can. You can postpone it tonight, and we can put it on the next agenda for review.
I'll take that motion.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone item number 14 to the 4th, February 4th, regular city council meeting.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Emily Hill. Any questions to the motion? No questions. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Let's see, we're at number 15. Executive? Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, good. All right. 15, consideration, discussion, possible action on a resolution approving the City of Maynard's submission nominating candidates for the Board of Directors of the Travis Central Appraisal District.
Yeah, Mayor Council, I would like another shot at this if you all give me that opportunity.
Is it 2 names or 1?
Two people.
Well, I like to be one of them.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would like to.
Okay. Anyone else? No, thank you. All right. Well, I need a motion for these folks who are saying no, thank you. Do a motion for those that are saying thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we present Councilmember Aaron Moreno and Councilwoman Deja Hill for nomination for the.
I think you gotta use that language because you gotta hit that resolution language in there.
Mayor Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 2026-03 nominating Councilmember Aaron Moreno and Councilwoman Deja Hill for the Board of Directors of the Travis Central Appraisal District and authorize the city manager to submit the nomination ballot on behalf of the city.
Motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Emily Hill. Any questions to the motion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When does this expire?
Well, it's a ballot, so they got to get on first. And I think is it annual? It's 2 years?
They currently appointed already. So they reached out there was a few members that resigned. So now they have 2 openings, so you'll be filling those terms, which goes 2 years, 2027, I believe. So they've reached out to the city because I'm assuming, we've submitted prior, but they're reaching out to other cities and see. Just they were informing us there was 2 vacancies, so council can.
All right.
Thanks,
appoint
Vivian.
2. Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Item number 16. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on an agreement between Texas State University and the City of Maynard for the internship program. So, council members, we created the internship program to allow for phasing in, starting with college students to be able to intern and support council members with work in research, policy, community engagement, and other areas. We said we were going to pilot this year, and city staff and I have been really knocking out all the bugs, and so we actually have our first candidate. Her name is Selena Osuna from Texas State. She's in a bachelor's degree program, social work, and this is in her last semester. Her program requires her to do 420 hours. She's really excited about the opportunity, came highly recommended. And so this item is about now when people are doing internships with universities, you have to have agreement between the university and the entity. And so this is a standard agreement so that we can not only do internships now with Texas State, but in the future. Questions? If we get a UT1 or HT or whomever else, we would probably have to do the same thing in the future. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, council members, Veronica Rivera, Assistant City Attorney. I just wanted to ask that if you decide to approve this agreement, that you also approve the supplement to the agreement. We received this agreement in PDF form, and it was a short turnaround. So rather than going back to the university to ask for revisions to it, we would like to just submit the Exhibit A. There were some dates that were incorrect, and some just other minor revisions. I can go through them if you'd like, but Exhibit A is on there. If you have any questions.
Questions, council members? Take questions or a motion.
Mayor, council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agreement with the supplement between Texas State University, Texas State, and the city of Manor for the internship program.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Wallace. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Moreno. Any questions to the motion?
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Does the agreement also include their stipend or something, whatever they get from us?
No, that stipend is separate from this agreement. This is just about the work. The stipend is something we choose to offer.
Correct. The agreement itself states that because they are taking this as a class and they do have a supervisor, that nothing that wages will not be paid, but they do leave it up to the entities to provide a stipend, and within the agreement it states what type of stipend, and that would be separate. It wasn't included in here.
Yeah. Other questions? I do want to highlight that both Texas State and the University of Texas were both interested in creating a council person training program in regards to how to training council persons on how to work and supervise interns. And so I think that was one of the things we talked about was, how to, everyone's readiness to jump in there. And so we elected to have the partnership. So what they were talking about doing was actually constructing something so that can actually be part of the process. And so as this goes through the process, I'll have continued conversations with them and then kind of work those pieces out.
Could that possibly connect with YAC as well?
Possibly. So, I don't think I think they were excited about all the things we're doing. And then we got to talking about, there's only so much capacity. And so at some point in time, there has to be an idea, there has to be the training, the communication piece, because I think part of the reason why we said we want to pilot was because of my familiarity with internship programs. But everyone doesn't have that same experience. And so how do we onboard folks in that way? So that's pretty much what they'll be looking at in that training process, is looking at all the areas, council-led programs and initiatives. Like I said, our research, our advocacy into legislators, sessions and different things like that. Even working to do community engagement, town halls, all that kind of stuff, youth programs. All of those things will be part of the conversation of what we want them to do, and then the training program for the interns and for the council persons will be specifically around that group of topics, and then how to monitor, support, and do the weekly supervision and that kind of stuff. And so that's just kind of forthcoming for the future. And it doesn't cost anything. So that's the beauty of all of this, is that all of this is mutually beneficial. Outside of the stipend part, it's all mutually beneficial experiences for the university students and for us.
Yeah, I would say that sounds very interesting, and definitely keep me updated on that. I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
Will this be able to be used by ACC students as well?
Yeah, we actually when we met with staff, I don't know, was that Friday? Friday we met. We actually spent some more time in the internship application, making some revisions, and we talked about kind of what the expectation and workload would look like at the community college level versus the four-year university level. So I just think, as we navigate this one intern, and as we have those conversations with the university, then we start trying to talk about, okay, in this amount of hours that they're going to have, because it's going to be a lot less hours from a community college student. And so, what can we really expect in that amount of time in the fall semester? Because it's probably going to be somewhere under 100 hours for the semester. And so, maybe that's just kind of project specific, where we say, okay, if you're from ACC, this is what you're going to do, and there's no being from it or whatever. But that's, again, all the stuff we just have to continue to work out. And then whatever we come up with comes before council for discussion and vote. But that's a good question. We actually did talk about that, specifically around the hours and the stipend. Other questions? Ben, and I think we have a motion and a second, and so all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. City Council will now convene into executive session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with authority contained in Section 551 Texas Government Code. All right. City Council will now reconvene to open session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code and take action, if any, on items discussed in closed executive session. Council members, we're going to go back to item number 9. Consideration, discussion, possible action on a special permit, use permit for up to 13,000 square feet of medical office on one lot of 6.76 acres, more or less, and being located lot 1A, Block A, Las Andradas North, Section 3, also known as 12420 Tailgate Pass, Maynard, Texas. There's a motion on the floor.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone item number 10 to February 9th. Oh, sorry. I thought he was reading number 10. Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone item number 9 to the February 4th regular City Council meeting.
Motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Wallace. Any question to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 10, consideration, discussion, possible action on regarding ordinance amending or ordinance 492 granting SI Energy LP a Texas Limited Partnership, a franchise to, among other things, furnish and supply gas to the general public. City of Manor, Texas, City of Manor, Travis County, Texas, to amend the definition of public right of way, modify the indemnification section requiring compliance with all regulatory ordinances of the city, providing for provisions related to the subject matter hereof, providing for a savings clause, and providing for an effective date. Is there a motion on the floor?
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 815, amending ordinance 492, granting Synergy LP a Texas Limited Partnership, a franchise to, among other things, furnish and supply gas to the general public of the City of Manor, Texas, Travis County, Texas, to amend the definition of public right-of-way, modify the indemnification section requiring compliance with all regulatory ordinances of the city, providing for the provisions related to the subject matter hereof, providing for a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
Motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Wallace. Any question to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Item number 11, consideration, discussion, possible action on the release of liability agreement with Synergy. Is there a motion on the floor?
Mayor, Council, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the release of liability agreement with Synergy.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moreno. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilwoman Wallace. Any question to the motion? Being none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. This ends our agenda. We will adjourn at 10:04 p.m.